My name is Jerry Gill. Today is October 17th, 2008. I'm interviewing Shane LaDuke in the Alumni Center on the Oklahoma State University campus. This interview is for the O State Storage Project of the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program. So Shane, first of all, welcome back. And this is a pretty special time for the former Pistol Pete mascots, isn't it?
You bet.
Can you tell me a little bit about your reunion and what you guys are doing?
We're invited back every year to participate in the parade, and since I live in Arkansas and lived over there a while, I haven't been able to come back for a number of years, and so I'm really excited about seeing a lot of my old friends and seeing the changes to the university is one of the most exciting things I'm interested in seeing.
So there's something special this year now about the Pete's, though? I mean, what this is?
Well, yeah, the 50th anniversary, and it just seems like yesterday I was here. Yet I was years 22 and 23, and here we are at year 50. So it's been a while since I was Pete, but it just seems like yesterday.
I guess what now to honor you guys, I recall is this year that the parade marshal is collectively the Pistol Pete's. Is that right?
That's right. That's what I've heard. Yes.
So you guys are going to be back behind where the horse droppings aren't, so you're going to be up the front where the parade marshal usually is this year.
First in the parade.
That's what I hear anyway. Yeah, that's
great.
Super. Well, speaking of Pete, let me kind of ask you, Shane, when do your first recollection of seeing Pistol Pete, do you remember when you first saw him?
Probably when I was probably in grade school or something. We came over to some football games, and it was kind of like first time you see Mickey Mouse from Walt Disney, you go, wow, there's a character down there. So I always remember that. Never thought of it being a person inside that. I just thought, hey, that's Pistol Pete. No, you always thought it was the same person all the time as a little kid. And little kids today probably still think that too. You know?
That's great. What was your impression? You remember when you first saw Pete? Like you said a little bit of it there.
Just you're overwhelmed with that big head and the big hat and his guns and his demeanor and how he walks around, and he's kind of in control of the crowd, and you're as a little kid you're in awe. So
that's great. Maybe backing up a little bit. Tell us a little bit where you grew up, Shane, and a little bit your family and.
Well, I grew up mostly in West Texas, but there was a short period of time when we lived over in Tulsa, and I had two sisters that attended Oklahoma State, so that was my Oklahoma State connection. But I did graduate from Amarillo High School in Texas, and Amarillo is only 5 hours from Stillwater, so I chose to come over here and go to school. I first started out trying to play football at Oklahoma State, and I was a walk-on, and I separated my shoulder, and so my story was I was going to go back out, the next fall. I separated my shoulder in the springtime, and one of my friends that I grew up with was a cheerleader, and she talked me into trying out for Pistol Pete, and so I didn't even know what that entailed, and she said, "Oh, all you have to do is sit in an interview," and so I went in there just thinking I'll give this a shot, and got picked as a freshman.
As a freshman?
Yeah,
so it's spring of your freshman year?
My spring of my freshman year, and so that put an end to my football career, which was probably God's blessing.
At least you only had one bad shoulder, huh?
That's right. And did it for 2 years, did it my sophomore and junior year, and just had a ball.
Great. Well, maybe sort of separate a bit apart from your Pete experience. I want to come back to, obviously, what are some other things you're involved in, Shane, in Oklahoma State in terms of programs, activities, leadership things?
Oh, I don't know how much, since I did become Pete as a freshman. In fact, that was kind of I wasn't a member of any fraternity or anything like that. Pistol Pete was basically the only thing I was a member of, and pardon me, sorry about that. And I wasn't a member of any other organizations other than the Spirit Squad. I mean, I was just a regular no fraternity connection person, and I don't have.
What was your major?
I was a business major, business administration management. Yeah.
Okay. Let me come back to your Pete deal. Tell me a little bit. What was the tryout like for you? Do you remember what did you have to do? Did you have to portray Pete? Was there an interview?
I sat down at a big table. I think there was about probably 12 to 15 people there. Mm-hmm. Some of them were ex. There was only one. I think one ex Pete. Kirk Carter was there, and some spirit people that were involved in the university back then, and maybe a couple of cheerleaders, and went to the interview in a coat and tie and answered some questions about what my background was and why I was trying out for Pete. And I told them the football story, and then they had me put on Pete, and they gave me some type of a situation that may have just happened at the game, and I tried to act it out the best I could. And you leave those interviews and you don't know how you did, and they said we'd call you Sunday night between like 4 and 6, and so I was waiting in my dorm room, and they called, and they told me that I was, back then they had a Pete and an alternate Pete, and I was the alternate Pete for my sophomore year.
Who's the main Pete?
Don Giles was the main Pete.
And then the next year when you...
And then I was the main Pete the next year, and Rob Reynolds was the alternate Pete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rob was just interviewed.
And then Rob was the main Pete the next year after that. So,
great. What you remember when you were first? A little bit about your outfit and so on. The headpiece, of course, is the part that stands out. But can you tell us a little bit about that and what it was like, and then a little bit about the rest of your outfit?
Yeah, a lot of people think that thing is a real heavy, hard to carry around thing, but it's set on your shoulders so easily that it really wasn't hard to carry around. And on a hot football day, it acted as an umbrella, as kind of a shade more than, so you didn't get hot inside of it. It was kind of a shade for you, actually. For me, it was. And the vision part of it was the hardest, because you could only see out the eyes and the ears, and then they have a little hole below the chin that you could, if you were walking up steps or something, or if there was little kids around you could tell if you were getting ready to step on them or something.
Important.
I don't know how much it's changed from then till today, but that'd be interesting to see it today and see what it's like. So.
What your first memory of Pete? When you're first out on the athletic field, can you share your feelings?
Yeah, I got to when I got elected to do it the spring semester of my freshman year. For the next year, there was actually a baseball game, and Don Giles was actually the alternate from the year before, and so he just said, "Hey, you want to go be Pete at a baseball game?" And so he just gave me the uniform, and I was cold turkey on my own. And so I remember walking over. I lived real close to the stadium, and I just remember walking over there as Pete. And Pete didn't go to very many baseball games, but I think we were playing OU or some Big 8 back then, Big 8 team. And so I just remember walking around, and of course I was very shy and didn't know exactly what to do. But when you walked in, everybody was, there was Pistol Pete. Yeah. So you kind of just took on the role, and so that was a good experience for me to do instead of walking into a Big 8 football game, in the fall semester.
What do you remember when you were trying out and did some of the things? Did you learn on some of the Pistol Pete kind of characteristics? The swagger, the different things. How did you?
Well,
did you have some help, or did you sort of pick up on those yourself?
I kind of picked up on that myself. One thing that Don Giles and I did is we took Pete over to the wrestling room, and in the wrestling room they have mirrors all the way around it. So one of the cool things about doing that is you could see what other people saw you doing and how you walked and any mannerisms you did. If you wanted to act like you were sad or mad or whatever, you could kind of practice in front of the big mirror, and that was a good way to practice.
Cool. When you got selected, did you have this conversation about sort of behavior? Things in public is expected of you and not, and
when I did it, we were totally on our own. We didn't have any rules. We didn't have any guidelines. In fact, back then, and we would take the head off during football games a lot and just set it beside us. And I've noticed over the past 20 years that they don't do that anymore. They don't ever take the head off in public, which I think is a great thing. But I just did it because that's what the Pete's before me did. When they wanted to break, they just take the head off and set it down.
Shane, was that before had athletics taken over?
No.
Yet? So you were still under the student activities?
I think we were under the band or something. I mean, like I said, we were completely on our own.
Okay.
We didn't have any direction. In fact, if somebody wanted us to do a parade or something, they usually came through the Alumni Association. And I think Kurt Carter worked there, so he would like set me up with parades or something like that to do. So it was, it would have been neat to have been under the athletic department. That was a great move for him to do that. But we were on our own, basically.
Talking to Matt Ketchum, I think Matt was talking about in his area, the change said it was really good move.
That's what I've heard.
What you made a lot of appearances that were non-athletic appearances, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about some of those?
I did a lot of parades. I did 2 different wedding receptions. People that were just OSU alums, and it was a surprise to both the bride and groom both times I did it, because their parents asked me to just show up as I was a good friend, and they knew I was at the wedding, but they didn't know I brought Pete. And so during the reception, I just walked in and danced with the bride, and just for pictures mostly. So that was fun. And parades were always fun. The most fun I had probably was during basketball season, because the year I was Pete, that's Bill Self was a player, and Leroy Combs, and Matt Clark, and we had a really good basketball team. So that was a lot of fun, and I got to know the players really well, and that face to face, and back then Gallagher, Iowa was such a, you were right there on top of the players and the fans, and so I really had a good time doing that.
Was your did your experience match your expectations as a Pete?
Pretty much. I mean, there was always a few different surprises, but they were always good surprises. Pretty much. I love to get little kids involved in anything I did. I remember at one football game, it was at halftime, and for some reason I got these 2 little boys down on the field with me, and we ran a football play, and it probably covered 50 yards to where we all 3 ended up in the end zone as a touchdown. And I remember looking up in the stands, and everybody was doing the wave.
Okay.
Here we go.
We're getting back to our interview with Shane LaDuke. And Shane, let me kind of back up and ask you a couple of questions. We were just talking about your experiences as Pistol Pete, and we talked about a little bit about some of your first memories of your first games and your baseball game, and you kind of share that you didn't have any training at the time you were talking about, and you were sort of on your own. Could you share that with us again?
Yes. Okay. It was 1981, the spring of '81, and Pistol Pete was not under the athletic department then, so we were basically on our own. And back then you had a main Pistol Pete and then an alternate, and so I remember my freshman year after I got picked, Don Giles, who had been picked as the main Pete, gave me the opportunity to go to a baseball game, and it was OOHRP, and I walked around and got my feet wet for the first time at a baseball game, which was probably a good thing. Got me ready for the upcoming football season, which you look back on it and it's hard to remember exactly everything you did, but because it's like almost like a dream, you think, wow, was that really me? Like tomorrow I'll look down there at Pete and I'll think, I probably didn't do that. That's not exactly what I look like, or something like that. So, and another thing I mentioned a while ago that may have gotten erased or not recorded was that I really enjoyed the basketball games back in the old Iba Hall, or whatever they used to call it before, or Gallagher Hall is what they called it.
Gallagher Hall.
And because it was so little, and the fans were right on top of everything. I mean, they're still that way, but back then it was really on top of it. So I got to interact with the crowd a lot and the basketball team a lot. So.
Did you enjoy doing basketball games more than, say, the other sporting events?
I think so, just because we did have a really good basketball team, and timeouts were always fun to go out and time your gun to where it went off at the right time. And I remember that year they did let me go buy a 12 gauge shotgun to shoot blanks, which made it even more loud. And I think they still might have that gun too. I think I've seen that.
They do.
That was a lot of fun, just because that gun was really loud in the gym, and you always shot it when people weren't expecting it and got their attention. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, did you have difficulty ever, Shane, kind of balancing your two lives? I mean, your student life, your real life, and then your Pistol Pete life?
A little bit. My grades probably could have been quite a bit better my sophomore and junior year. I struggled a little bit just because I probably gave Pete a little bit too much attention. And in fact, friends of mine wanted me to try out and do it my senior year, and I said, I got to get out of here one of these days. So that's why I opted not to do it my senior year, and I concentrated more on my studies and gave somebody else the opportunity to have fun.
But how many events did you make? You're both athletic and non-athletic events total. Would you make in a year's time?
How many events? I would say probably about 50 throughout the year, and they probably do twice as much as that now, because we didn't even go to all the basketball games when I was Pete. We didn't go to all the football games when I was Pete, because we only traveled when the band traveled to away games, which was usually one of the Kansas games and then OU, of course. But we never went to Nebraska. That was just too far of a trip back then, and we didn't have the funds to do it. We did get to go to one of the big trips was we played San Diego State one year out in San Diego, right around Thanksgiving. So that was one of the big trips we went to, and then we played in the Independence Bowl when I was can't remember if I was my sophomore or junior year. So that was down in Shreveport. So we drove to that, and it was. I always traveled with the cheerleaders and the pom-pom girls. So I'm sure they probably still they're all under the athletic department today, aren't they? So
they are. Peach in that department,
all under
spirit
one
squads.
Right.
Ask you, Shane, real quick about the historical Frank Pistol Pete Eaton. Was it special for you that OSU's mascot was
a real person?
Was after a real person, and it was just different than being an animal or a mascot of some kind?
Yeah, I would say yes, because you heard a lot of stories about when he used to come on campus, and I don't know if the stories are true or not, but they said when he came on campus, he still carried a sidearm and it was loaded. And somebody said he shot his gun one time into a ceiling, and one of the buildings. I don't know if is that true. So yeah, that's a true story. And he tracked down the guys that killed his father, and I mean, he's a legacy. So I think it was a great pick, and I don't know of any other university that has a legacy like that, actually.
And what do you think Pistol Pete embodies the spirit of OSU and the state of Oklahoma generally?
I do. I mean, I think the Western cowboy is one of the old school great American idols. That people look back and there's not too many of those out there. And being a cowboy is, I mean, no matter what part of the country you're from, I think everybody looks at the old Western cowboy as, part of America's heritage and part of the Midwest heritage for sure. So it's an ideal mascot for sure.
Did you ever any competition, mascot competition where you were Pete?
No, they didn't. They had that 2 years afterwards, and I think Rick Wilson was the first All-American mascot. The very first year they started giving out All-American awards. So, and I was proud that he was 2 years after me, and that he was a great Pete. And I just tell people that I taught him everything he knew to do. So
it's great. What there's some especially memorable moments, that you have, experiences as Pete that you can share with us that really stand out in your mind?
Well, the maybe the most embarrassing or the most it's even in the college yearbook is we were playing Kansas in basketball at Gallagher Hall, and I can't remember what the score was, but it was a pretty close game. And at halftime, I was walking out in the middle of the court, and our team was already out shooting layups, and I guess the Kansas team came out, and their cheerleaders had come with them, and their cheerleaders came out on the court and did a tumble, and one of the guy cheerleaders from Kansas tumbled into me and knocked me over, and it actually knocked me out for just a second. And when I woke up, Coach Hansen and Leroy Combs were over me, and they go, "Shane, are you all right?" And I go, "What happened?" And of course the cheerleader was above me, and he thought he just broke my neck. And I said, "I'm okay." And I said, "Is the head okay?" And they go, "Yeah, it's okay," because I thought it might have cracked or something. And so they gave me the head, and I stood up and act like I shook off the hit, and then I shot at the cheerleader and walked off the court. So it was a little bit embarrassing, and because I didn't know exactly what had happened, because I never saw him coming. But it all worked out in a fine ending, I should say, and we won the game. So
great. Some special heartwarming memories that you have, maybe of some kids you worked with, or maybe it wasn't an athletic event, maybe it was with some of your other activities.
I remember one basketball game. There was this little girl, and she must have been about 3 or 4 years old, and you could tell that she was just fascinated with Pistol Pete. And somehow I got her to walk out on the court with me at halftime, and the band started playing a slow song, so I got down on my knees and we started slow dancing at midcourt. And you could just tell she didn't want it to end. She was just loving it. And to this day, I just remember I said, "Golly, that little girl, I hope she remembers this the rest of her life," because I haven't forgotten it. And it was just the perfect little kid. I had a lot of little kid experiences, but that was the most heartwarming to me. That was really cool.
Did you enjoy, Shane, working with the kids? Because Pete's kind of a kid magnet, isn't it? Wherever you go.
Oh, absolutely. And you to walk around and just when people would see you, no matter how busy or how in a hurry you were, if you had to leave, it was kind of disappointing to know that you had to not shake somebody's hand or give somebody an autograph or something like that. Even though it wasn't me, Shane LaDuke, it was Pistol Pete, but they wanted to see Pete and touch Pete and maybe see if Pete would talk to him or something. So yeah, that was my life, or your 15 minutes of fame or whatever. You got to have that every Saturday afternoon at a football game or something, when you're walking to the game or if you were walking away from the game. So
I was talking to one Pete, and they sort of explained that, said you had the same experience, that you almost sort of was your alter ego. You had this other person. You were this other person. You're Mr. Pete. Did you feel that sense?
That's exactly it. Yeah, when you put on that head, you became the character. So, and I'm a pretty outgoing person anyway, but I still felt like when I put on Pete, I wasn't Shane anymore. I try to become the mascot and do the things that the mascot was supposed to do, and
the swagger,
with the swagger and the cockiness and whatever you might, without doing anything that would not be respectful to the other team. So,
picking up your conversation, did you feel a special sense of responsibility as you're the school mascot, but you really represent OSU?
I did. One other special thing I got to do is when Governor George Nye, when he was the governor, he had a party one summer at the governor's mansion, and he invited. Somehow, Pistol Pete got invited, and it was the summertime, so I don't even know how they got a hold of me, but I got to go to the governor's mansion, and the Sooner Schooner was there, Pistol Pete was there. Michael Martin Murphy, the country singer, entertained everybody, and it was just cool because I was representing our college, and I got to sit down and talk with Michael Martin Murphy for probably an hour before he sang, and that was just one of the special things I got to do as Pistol Pete. Probably the most special is being a guest of the governor of Oklahoma.
great, fantastic. What you mentioned your embarrassing moments, but anything that any other either special or embarrassing, any special memories that you have that you share with us?
Other thing I can remember is we went to a basketball game at the Lloyd Noble Center, and it was at halftime, and their little top dog or something came out with the basketball, and he was shooting layups all around me because he was very mobile and able to do that kind of stuff. And I remember he tossed me the ball, and the first time I couldn't even find it, and then I finally found it, and I was like at the top of the circle, and I threw a ball up. You had to shoot underhanded, and it was like nothing but net from the top of the circle, and I just kind of walked off like, there you go. And it was at Norman, so it was perfect, and that was back when Tisdale was playing for OU, and they had a really good team. So that's another great memory that I have.
Gosh,
just everything was in sync that night. So
did you ever get, speaking of kind of OU and other schools, did you ever get heckled by the opposing fans, or you everything thrown at you, anything like that?
Yeah.
Derogatory statements made about you?
Yeah, one time at Gallagher Hall, the OU-OSU wrestling match was going on. And back then, like I said, when a match was going on, we usually took the head off and put it right beside us. And I put on the head after one of the matches, and it was full of like Wild Turkey whiskey. I mean, Wild Turkey whiskey. Somebody had thrown Wild Turkey cup of whiskey, and I'm sure it was an OU fan. And I pulled it down, and I went, "Oh no!" And all this, and I smelt like it too, So I think I just left at that point because I didn't want anybody to think I'd been drinking. But that was probably another.
That's dirty.
Just a dirty thing that happened, but not too bad. Usually down in Norman, it seemed like when I was Pete, I always had friends that played for OU, and so I'd hang out and see them after the game. But the OU people were even really respectful to Pete for the most part. They didn't heckle too bad that I can remember, me anyway. So
what kind of looking back, Shane, a little bit at your time, and what is looking back today? What did it mean being Pistol Pete to you?
Well, I think today might even be more special than it was then, just because, especially this year, the 50th anniversary and this great reunion you guys are putting on for us, and just to know that my name is going to be inscribed at the university here forever is that means a lot to me, just because one day hopefully my kids and my grandkids and from generations to come, or anybody that ever knew me or knew my family, can walk through Gallagher Iba, and there's a place over there that has all our names listed of who was Pete when, and that's pretty special. Like I said, it didn't mean that much to me. It meant a lot to me when I was in school, but now as our university's grown and it's becoming the university that it is today, it's a really neat deal for me anyway.
What you were talking about the reunion earlier? Do you maintain contact with some of the Petes that you knew? Is that a special bond you guys share?
Well, I think this reunion will help us stay in touch. I see a lot of them every now and then in Tulsa. When I'm in Tulsa, I run into a few. I even had a work relationship with an old Pete that I didn't even know was Pete until I met him through work, and so Scott Noble was his name, and so you just never know who you know. I've seen walking up here today, I've seen 2 or 3 Petes that I recognize from back in the 80s, and we're into the late part of the first or the 2000s, and so there's been a lot of Petes that I've never even met or know what they look like. I might recognize their name only, so just by looking at the website.
What you think about having been Pete? Do you think about a legacy? I mean, do you still get introduced occasionally as former Pistol Pete? I mean, it's still kind of brand you for life.
It seems like all the time. In fact, my wife, she didn't go to school here, and she's still every now and then, if we meet somebody that went to Oklahoma State, she'll go, "Hey, did you know my husband was Pistol Pete?" So She went to that other school in Oklahoma. So, you know, for her to bring that out is really even means a lot to me. I think she's proud that she was married to a Pistol Pete.
There you go. What are there some lessons, Shane, and experiences that you learned from your time as Pistol Pete that you've carried with you?
I think part of being humble, being a humble person, being Pistol Pete. I was Shane LaDuke, but I got to be Pistol Pete, and even though that was something that you can brag about when you're in college, and you had a lot of pride in doing it, at the same time to protect that legacy and being humble and just know that, hey, that was just an honor that was bestowed upon me, and nothing that I did that really I wasn't Pistol. I mean, Shane LaDuke was honored to be the Pistol Pete, and so I think there's a little humbling in there that I've taken with me, maybe in the past 15 years, more than when I was probably Pistol Pete. But because when people introduce me like that today, I almost get a little bit embarrassed because it was so long ago, and it was a great honor to do that. But
Shane, what do you hope your legacy will be as a Pistol Shane LaDuke, Pistol Pete? What do you hope they remember you for most for?
I hope they remember me as being the Pete that interacted with the kids and always was open to what the kids, if a kid wanted to see Pete or play with Pete, I hope they remember that I always tried to do my best to stick around and sign any autograph or give out any, if I had any tokens or anything to give out to kids, that always did that. And because to disappoint a little kid, if my little girl was here tomorrow and she saw Pistol Pete and he walked away from her, I wouldn't want her heart to be broken that she didn't get to touch Pistol Pete or see him up close or something. So that's what I hope that people remember, that I did always try to be a spirit leader and represent the college in the best way I knew how to do that.
Well, what would you tell an OSU student, a young person that wanted to be Pistol Pete? What would you tell them?
Well, at first I'd just say, you got to get in there, and if you're going to try out, you got to become the character. And I would say, what I did, practice in front of a mirror. I mean, you don't have the head, but just imagine putting the head on and doing what Pete would do, and become the character. And you're not Jerry when you put that head on. You're Pete. So walk around and be Pete, and don't be Jerry. So and from what I've seen over the years, I think all our Petes have done that. They've represented. I've never seen a Pete that I was disappointed in. So
that's great. What if Shane LaDuke had it to do all over again, you had an opportunity to be Pete, would you do it?
You bet. I'd do it. And I don't regret trying to be a football player, but I think the cards were just stacked in my direction. When it happened, and I've got some great memories and some great contacts and great friendships out of the whole deal, and I have no regrets. Had a lot of fun.
And we know it earlier. Now you graduated from high school at
Amarillo High School.
And so I was thinking, was Dickie Graham from Amarillo that played? Been a little bit before you played football, if you remember him.
I don't remember him.
Okay, great. What anything you want to share with us, Shane, that we haven't had a chance to talk about? It's kind of special to you. You're thinking about that we haven't covered.
The only other thing is, I went to the same high school as T. Boone Pickens and went to the same college, but I just don't have the same money.
You're still working your first.
I'm still working on my first million.
That's great. Our first billion, as he said.
Yeah.
This year. Well, Shane, again, sort of closing. Thanks for coming on. You guys are having a special, weekend reunion here together. I know you got to be leaving here in a few minutes to go over to Gallagher, and so on. Is it fun to be part of all those festivities and what's going on?
Yeah, I'm really excited about what's going to happen. I've got a sister and brother-in-law coming up from Texas that also are alums from here.
Oh, okay.
And they haven't been to a game in a while, so we're all going to the game tomorrow, and bringing my little girl over. She's never been to an OSU game, so we're all real excited about what's going to happen tomorrow, and hopefully, we'll get by Baylor and be 7-0. And
is it pretty exciting for you, the team this year?
it's very exciting. I mean, that game last weekend was. I mean, I had people that are Hog fans in Arkansas. They were calling me, you making sure I was watching the game. So it was real exciting. Real exciting.
Well, Janie, closing, let me just ask you one thing, then a little bit about two sets of questions work together. One is I'd like for you to tell us, maybe a little bit about your life briefly since you've left Oklahoma State University, and then did your experiences as Pete help influence your life? Did it provide disciplines for you that you applied in your career? So let's ask the last question first, and then go back and bring us up to speed on some of your life.
I got a business degree, but I'm actually in sales and marketing and customer service is what I think my assets are. And I think I got a lot of what from my customer service background and marketing and being able to deal with customers. I think I got a lot of that from being Pete. When you're Pete, you're dealing with the fans, which you might call customers, and you're wanting to make them happy and keep them smiling and do the right thing. So, in my job today, that's what my duties are, is to keep my customers happy and make some sacrifices that you may not want to make, but that's what I do. And I think that I'm good at what I do, and part of that comes from what I learned here at Oklahoma State, and part of that might have come from being Pistol Pete. So, and then what was the other part of the question? What I do today?
Catch us up on your life a little since you left Oklahoma State University.
Well, lived in Tulsa for a large part of that time, and we've lived in. My wife and I, Shannon, live in Hot Springs, Arkansas now, which is we love the town. The state is definitely a one college state, and they're all Hog fans over in Arkansas, but we get along with them great. They don't have any problem with Oklahoma State, and they have more problems with Texas. That's their old rivalry. Right. So we love living over there, and Hot Springs is a resort town, so there's lakes and horse racing in the wintertime, and we just love it and enjoy living over there and enjoy the lakes and the Ouachita Mountains, and it's a good place to live.
What company you work with? What product do you
I work
sell?
for Triumph, which is an aviation company. They have 44 different companies throughout the United States, and some even over in Thailand and Ireland. But what we do is we're an aircraft repair station, so we deal with all the major airlines, Southwest, Delta, Continental, and FedEx and UPS. Anything that flies the big birds, we're a repair station. So they don't fly the planes into us; they truck the parts into us. We fix them and truck them back to them. But Hot Springs is a good place for customers. They like to go visit Hot Springs, so it's a good place to have a business. So,
great,
like that.
Shane, gosh, thanks. I appreciate you taking
you bet.
time.
Hope
I
did all
right.
right.
To do. I'm going to get you on your next meeting, but appreciate you stopping by with us. And again, congratulations on your 50 year. No, it's not your 50 year, but the Pete's 50 year reunion, and it's good to have you back on campus.
Thank you very much.